What is going on, everybody? Paul here, coming at you with your crypto coffee update. First of all, happy Thanksgiving. I had a fantastic time. Tons of food, friends, family, and delicious turkey. Can't go wrong with turkey. Is it turkey coin time? No, no turkey coin time. But it is time for that simultaneous sip, so turn it up with me. Good stuff. Let's go ahead and jump into the news of the day. Got a couple things to catch you all up on, share with you some interesting sources, some humorous things before we roll into the happenings of the day. But first off, we're going to share an opinion piece from News BTC. It's a well-written piece. I very much enjoyed reading it, so cheers to Rick D. It just talks about how Business Insider released an article from a self-proclaimed self-help guru who professes to instill in his followers the idea of how to build wealth consciously, which is something that many individuals have been pushing over the last few decades and beyond. Ideas that there are certain mentalities specifically that help you to build wealth, and that's very true. After all, 90% of any effort is right up here, in between the most expensive real estate in the world, the 6-inch plot in between your ears. However, with that said, Ryan D has some excellent insight into this individual, whose name is Ramit Sethi, who talks about basically this is how you can become rich. He uses Bitcoin as an example as to individuals who, rather than using a critical mindset, double down on poor investments, which is kind of a generalization as a whole. However, Rick D really drives it home when he notices that Rami always seems to self-direct back to his own paid material. So realistically, it makes sense. A lot of these self-help gurus, they got to make a living somehow, so they sell this kind of stuff. Now, what really caught my eye here is the whole piece is just a shill for his own business. The journalistic integrity is really running strong in this one. Now, I don't know if this is Brian D specifically. After all, it's an opinion article, so who's to say if he's just a guest author or what? But the irony was not lost on me that News BTC was the outlet that demanded $4,000 to remove any semblance of how would you say this? Any notion, any disclaimer is the word, any disclaimer that this article was a paid article. So when you're going to talk about journalistic integrity while writing for perhaps the most expensive and prolific outlet that has a lack of integrity, asking thousands of dollars to basically lie to its readers, you're kind of skating on thin ice there. So realistically, don't want to point this directly at Ryan, really want to point this directly at News BTC as a whole, and just show the irony kind of in Ryan's statement here. So Ryan, if you're watching, definitely something to consider, man. You wrote a great article here, so perhaps, you know, just keeping a level head with that level of bias, maybe find an outlet that doesn't ask $4,000 to remove a disclaimer that this is a paid article, then it wouldn't be quite as hypocritical. But with that said, something I want to shift over into, we're getting into the holiday seasons. You're going to be seeing that family that perhaps you showed some crypto to last year. Hopefully not. Hopefully you told them to do your own research. That's something we try and drive home all the time here at Cryptide, just teaching people, do your own research. Well, we're over here at CoinMarketCap today, and I want to show you a little something. You can go down here to Tools and go to Historical Snapshots. I love this. This is a historical snapshot of what the prices were that particular day. Now, it's really fun to look at. It goes all the way back to 2013, but let's just go 3 years ago to 2015 on December 6th. What was the price of crypto? One Bitcoin was under 400 bucks. One Litecoin was $4. And a Dash was less than $3. So that's only 3 years ago. Now, I know what you're saying, Paul. I didn't even know Bitcoin existed 3 years ago. Let's get up to speed. All right, well, let's see a year later on December 4th, 2016. So we're moving ahead by 1 year. Oh, Bitcoin's 770 bucks, and Litecoin's pretty much the exact same price, under $4. Now, Dash has ballooned up to $8.80, looking good. All right, now you know we're gonna have to do it to you. Fold hands. Let's go ahead and look at December 3rd, 2017. Oof, above $11,000. So look at that meteoric rise. Look at how insane that exploded. Doubled in price from 2015 to 2016. That's really cool. But from 2016 to 2017, that is over 10-fold increase. That's wild. Now, compared to where we are today, sitting just above $4,000, in my opinion, that's pretty healthy. Now, that's just one man's 2 cents. I'd love to hear what you think about this, but I just wanted to bring this up in case somebody out there hasn't seen it. It gives you an idea of historical perspective in the crypto market. So, good thing to keep in mind. Just wanted to bring that up for y'all. Moving on to the next article, Ethereum developers are quietly planning an accelerated tech roadmap. Now, this is very interesting. This occurred at DevCon 4, and there was a meeting between most of the Ethereum developers, including somebody from Consensus and Vitalik Buterin himself, and they're talking about changing some of the Ethereum framework and it's a bit opaque. It's from a GitHub commit. We don't know too much about it yet. This is just something I wanted to bring up so we have it in our archives. We can go back and keep an eye on this sort of thing as it goes forward. But suffice to say, one of the big things it hopes to tackle is the rent, and also include rent or storage fees for smart contracts. There's so much bloat on the Ethereum network. I can't tell you how cumbersome it can be at times. You go to upload to Viewly, sometimes it costs you 5 cents to test your data to the chain, no problem. Other times it costs as much as $1 to upload a video, so that huge variance in cost is really something that could dissuade individuals from using the Ethereum network regularly. Furthermore, you have things like Fcoin, which pushed tons of fake volume out of its exchange, not exchange, wash trading essentially, assumingly connected to some other projects that didn't like Ethereum, and it drove up the cost of Ethereum transactions wildly. So this sort of rent or storage fee for a smart contract could prove to be a major boon for the perpetuity of the Ethereum network, but again, a lot of this is still opaque, brand new. Just wanted to put it out there so we can reference it in the future, and we'll keep you up to date. That's what we're here for. Moving on, Bitcoin fundamentals are still intact despite the lower price, says a blockchain intelligence group. So again, I always take these sort of things with a grain of salt. Everybody has an opinion, so just take that as you will. But suffice to say, this goes back to what we talked about last Crypto Coffee update with the fundamentals, just solving the double spend problem, with the longest chain rule, with proof of work. Really, these technical innovations will persist into the future because, after all, they can't really take away the ideas. So even if Bitcoin as a whole, for some reason, fails, these technical innovations still exist. Now, losing the network effect of Bitcoin would be not so good for the crypto space at all. That would actually be a huge setback. But nonetheless, just to drive home that the technical innovation is intact and does exist, and the network effect, as can be seen from the blockchain intelligence group, is indeed still at play. So we'll put that below, along with everything else we're looking at today, in the description. Of course, you guys got to do your own research, check behind your buddy Paul. We're just here to share information. Moving along, something I really liked, IOTA, they're planning to kill off their centralized coordinator. Now, this is a qualm I've had with IOTA since their beginning. IOTA is not a blockchain, it's a directed acyclic graph, DAG, which essentially looks a lot more messy than a blockchain, so it has a lower barrier to entry in terms of vectors of attack. I believe it's 33% or 31%, pretty sure it's a third, that is required to hijack the IOTA chain and cause the IOTA tangle and cause all kinds of disaster. Well, what they did to fix that was create a centralized point known as the coordinator node. I've got to refresh the page here. Yeah, they created a coordinator node through which all transactions flow. Now, your buddy Paul here, not a big fan of that level of centralization. It is a central vector of attack. I understand that there needs to be some kind of compromise when the network is young and doesn't have that level of resiliency. However, perhaps it could be solved a different way. I'm just not a big fan of that level of centralization, especially if it's a new technology with which I'm going to trust funds. So I've been a bit critical of IOTA, but I'm really happy to see this. This, along with flash channels, has been something that really took me by surprise. I'm happy with it, and what else is the human experience but changing your opinion in the face of new information? So I got to give a tip of the hat to IOTA on this one. Getting rid of the centralized coordinator, a process which they haven't jumped into yet. They're going to take it slow, but nonetheless, the fact that they're tackling this issue so forthright, and the fact that they're being so open and honest about it, it gives me pause and consideration that, well, you know, the IOTA team, they're doing good work, and they're being forthright with the work they're doing. So cheers to them. Next up, we have the Bitcoin Lightning Network. Something that I see as infinitely inferior to flash channels in IOTA, simply because of the clunky, quasi-decentralized, not so decentralized at all, payment hubs that exist. After all this time, Lightning Network is only at 2 million capacity. I believe about 7 months ago we were around $200,000 or $300,000, so it's slow getting it, but we're getting there. Realistically, Lightning Network could very well be a fantastic solution in terms of off-chain payment settlements. However, this does introduce some vectors of exploitability. Again, as with any level of complication or subsequent layer you add on top of a system or a network, you are introducing more variables for attack. But you know, that's neither here nor there. Realistically, we're able to see, thanks to the beauty of crypto, both scenarios play out. Here with BTC, Bitcoin, we're able to see Lightning Network and segregated witness, or SegWit, more of layer 2 scaling solutions, and with BCH, or Bitcoin Cash, we're able to see what a much more kind of a decentralized development team and block size increase can be. And by the way, in B4, everything's on a server rack. We're not even going to get into that. It's an entire another video. But the point being is the beauty of blockchain is we're able to see what the market decides upon through consensus, network effect, and overall purchasing power. So with that said, it seems that the purchasing power is flowing a little bit more, slowly but surely, into the Lightning Network as more GUIs come out, making it more easy to use for the layman and that sort of thing. So best of luck to those who are developing it. I mean, this is a complicated system. But yeah, of course, below in the description if you want to get some more info on the Lightning Network. And I wanted to use this article here by Evan Schwartz. Fantastic article. Love this. Layer 3 is for interoperability. There we go. Interoperability. Talking about how blockchain networks need to have some form of interoperability in order to have layman or general appeal to a wider market. This is because if you expect somebody to have 12 or 15 different wallets and all these different phrases on their phone in order to pay for a Starbucks cup of coffee, well, just frankly, you're asking too much. Ease of use is a huge factor in any form or medium of exchange. So with that said, this article is fantastic for delving into what layer in terms of how transaction finality is settled, how on-chain data is attested, relative to how these sort of things are used in everyday commerce. So things like flash channels and the Lightning Network. So just wanted to share that. Here is kind of how the internet architecture functions today: physical, network, internetwork, transport, and application. I think these are fantastic analogies. Talks about how internet architecture is layered on top of one another in order to maximize functionality. And here is a conceptual interledger architecture put forth in the article. Really interesting stuff. I highly recommend taking a look at the whole article, digesting it, and getting an idea of, again, just one man's opinion. That's all we have here is the collection of individual opinions, and we compare, we contrast, and we try and seek the truth. Little funny thing to end on. All day, my dad works on Bitcoin. This is an adorable little thing. You know, a kid obviously sees his dad working on crypto all the time, and this is kind of what he wrote, assumingly for school or daycare or something. So I thought this was adorable. A little bit of humor, especially around the holiday times. You know, we're spending more time with family, and like I said, guys, family, friends, and your loved ones are the most precious thing. You know, you can lose your coins, and crypto could go down to $200 a coin, which would be below the 2015 data that we saw, by the way. But, you know, money can't buy happiness, nor can it buy family. So keep in mind what's important out there, guys. We're all on this rock ball, hurtling through space for a short time together, so let's make the best of it, seek the best truth we can, and be great to one another. With that said, let's go ahead and switch into what's happening for the week. Let's see, where are we? November 23rd, Friday. This year has flown by. All right, guys, so let's see what we got. For November 23rd, Friday, we have the Blockchain Leadership Summit happening in Switzerland, the Neo Hackathon happening in Helsinki, and that's it for Friday, November 23rd. For Saturday, November 24th, we have the Blockchain and ICO event in Vietnam. And for November 25th, Sunday, we have the Token News Conference happening in Manila in the Philippines. That's it for this Crypto Coffee update and for the happenings. As usual, and as I said before, all the links below in the description. You got to do your own research there, guys. I just try to make it as easy as possible. And of course, the B list, which is a huge list of happenings and tokens that didn't quite make it into the video. Some great, some subpar, but nonetheless, as I said, try to get you the best information we can. Well, that's all we have for this Crypto Coffee update. Much love, guys. My name is Paul. We are Cryptide, and remember, the tide is rising, as is, hopefully, empathy around the world for this holiday season.